Hey, lovely humans. Today we are going to answer the question, what is plot? So a plot is a sequence of events that makes up a story. It typically includes 5 main elements. They are exposition, rising action, the climax, falling action, and resolution, also called the denouement. We're also going to be talking about conflict as a part of plot, so let's go. So this is a typical plot diagram. At some point in the near future, you will be asked to fill out a plot diagram. They can also look like this or like this. There's really no wrong way to make a plot diagram. The exposition is an introduction that provides like the important parts about the characters and setting before we get into like the meat of the story. All right, so usually they start out once upon a time. If you're a Star Wars fan, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, all of that you read, that is exposition, right? That has happened before our story takes place. The Hunger Games is the same thing. They play that video so we know about the rebellion. The rising action is the part in the story that like develops the plot, or develops the problem, the conflict, and builds interest and suspense and leads up to the climax. So, for example, part of the rising action is when Han and Luke first meet. In the Hunger Games, when they go to the Capitol, this is part of the rising action, where they're getting like prepped in the Capitol. And then like the whole 5th book in Harry Potter series, that is rising action. If you're looking at it like as a series and not just one book or one movie. The climax is the turning point where the problem or conflict reaches its peak, right? Like the OMG moment, like I didn't see that coming, or like, holy cow. So for example, the climax in Star Wars comes right near the end, which is when they are going up against the Death Star. Part of the climax in the Hunger Games is in the 2nd book or 2nd movie. That is like where the climax happens. And then in Harry Potter, it happens at the last battle. Falling action. This is like after the OMG moment, after the climax, and it leads to the ending. So this part in Hunger Games where they're like deciding whether or not they want to fight each other. The final battle is like the climax, but also we saw this coming. This part, if you know the movie, then this part is the falling action. And then the actual blowing up of the Death Star is the falling action. And the resolution, or denouement, this is the conclusion. So in Star Wars, it happens like immediately. Everybody's gets a medal. Princess Leia's back in her dress, like, yay. Harry gets rid of the Deathly Hallows and decides what to do with the rest of his life. And in the Hunger Games, Katniss and Peeta are victors. Or are they? So now we're going to talk about conflict. So the conflict is the major struggle in the plot. It's the big one. There can be multiple types of conflict or multiple different conflicts in any story. And in a complex story, there's going to be more than just one. So we have person versus person, person versus nature, person versus self, and person versus society. There's also person versus God, person versus machine. There's multiple, but the 4 main ones are person versus nature, versus self, and versus society. Each of these pictures is a type of conflict. So I want you to look at these and try to decide which you think goes best. So which one is person versus person? Which one represents person versus nature? Okay, take a minute and think about that. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples. So Vienne has opened a chocolate shop downtown, but the townspeople won't shop there because it's too different. Is that person versus person, person versus nature, person versus self, person versus society, or person versus machine? That is person versus society, because Vienne is opening a shop and the townspeople, they don't want to shop there. So the society has come together and to decide that they don't like her or what she's selling. Next question. Jen and Dylan are playing a high-stakes poker game. Person versus person, because the poker game is obviously, it's against other people. Dwayne is trying to save his family from a terrible earthquake. And that is person versus nature, because earthquake. This might be the last one. Evan is struggling with mental health issues. Yeah, person versus self. And it doesn't always have to be mental health. It can be like, I really want to go do this, but I know I shouldn't because it's past my curfew. But I really want to. And I would have so much fun that it would be worth getting in trouble for. But I would disappoint my parents. But I would have fun. All right, that is also person versus self. Oh. Becky is running late to work because her car refuses to start. Person versus machine, right? Because car. All right, so just to recap everything, the exposition is the beginning of the story where things are introduced, the reader is given background information. The rising action is where the protagonist faces the conflict, there's action, there's decision, and it leads to the climax, the most exciting part of the story, the OMG moment, which then leads to the end of the story, like the events that lead to the conclusion, right? Resolution of issues, the end of the story, and then of course we have conflict, which is a problem or struggle between two opposing forces in a story. It's usually between the protagonist and the antagonist does not have to be a person. The antagonist can be nature. So like in Dwayne saving his family from the earthquake, if you remember back, the antagonist is actually nature, right? The earthquake. And that is all we're going to work on today. So good job, everyone. I'll see you later.